All right, I can take us into our next story, and that is, George, we are exactly 1 week out from Giving Tuesday 23. Giving Tuesday, the organization, estimates that compared to 2022, the industry just saw a marginal increase of less than 1%, but with 10% fewer donors, reflecting a broader decline in donor engagement. So the CEO of Giving Tuesday expressed, quote, both inspiration and concern over this trend. So the day, of course, as we talked about, and as you know, aimed at promoting generosity, has been around for about a decade. There are some hypotheses about why donor giving was stagnant this year. Again, increasing concerns around, economic trends. Personally, I think that political disengagement and the overall mood of the American adult, giving population is downtrodden right now. I think that played a contributing role. It will be interesting to see, as we saw in 2019, 2020, with a surge, of course, in donations in relation to the election and Black Lives Matter, whether the election becomes kind of, one tide lifts all boats kind of situation, and that kind of drums up support and activism and advocacy and donations and such. So, George, I think this is definitely lower than our prediction. This has been a bit of a disappointment for the industry. How are you thinking about these numbers?
Yeah, well, we predicted that there would be 3.4 billion raised, hopefully aspirationally predicting an increase. And frankly, it was only a 0.6% increase. More concerningly, I'd say, is the fact that according to their participation data, there was a 10% decrease, 34 million as opposed to 37 million the year prior in terms of total people participating. And I think that actually is more concerning to me because of the participation element. Let's just be honest. Like when Warren Buffett gives out, 800 million donation at the stroke of a pen every year at a random date, like, I think it's more for me that Giving Tuesday is the kickoff to generosity in Q4 in earnest. And to see that decrease gives me pause. We did see decreases in Google search incidences when we were looking at it leading up to it. I'm still waiting on more data from there. I'm also hoping that, like, as we're only a week out, maybe there's somebody who didn't fully report. Maybe there's a couple platforms, but Giving Tuesday will put out numbers usually that they are fairly confident in. I'm just hoping for some more good news as we come up. I think the other major narrative, I don't know if the political disengagement is the right framing, Nick, because let's be honest, our midterm elections have broken records. We are seeing broken records in political engagement. What I think is there was a major crisis in Gaza and in Israel that has been unfolding, has been taking attention, has been taking various donors' attention away from General Giving Tuesday to other avenues that may have created a larger moment that overshadowed the giving participation of this day. The other thing is that a lot of Giving Tuesday activity is dependent on nonprofit participation. Like, quite frankly, if you are having a parade, if you are having a walkathon, if you are bringing humans together, and there's no organizing bodies bringing those people to the parade, you're going to have a very lonely parade. You're going to have a walk of some instead of a lot. And I think what is happening is the value proposition, if I'm being intellectually honest here, the value proposition for any given small to medium-sized nonprofit to go out and try to make noise on a noisy day is maybe not strategically in their best interests as it has been framed. It is hard sometimes to say, like, hey, we're going to wade into the echo chamber of social media with yet another Giving Tuesday ask. So I think there may be some of that where people are like, yeah, why am I going to choose the busiest day? Why don't I choose any other day to let my donors know? So I think there may be some of that, and I'd be interested in the participation component of organization level messaging, because that is the driver. The number one reason why people give is because they were asked. So I would look at that causal relationship.
George, that's an interesting question. Are you saying that this is almost an economic question. There's finite resources and competition on a single day, 24-hour span. Of course, some organizations, advertise, etc., in the week up to it, but we've kind of maximized the benefits we can get in marketing, in generating support within a single day. And now you're at a point where you have all nonprofits competing for finite resources within that 24-hour period. Are you suggesting that that's not efficient? It would be interesting to see whether, nonprofits reinvesting marketing at the summer when there's less engagement could potentially be more meaningful. I don't know.
I would say it's a nuance of not necessarily resources, but attention. I think there's a scarcity of attention when everyone is yelling. And if you are going to be messaging, you probably want to save it for a time when somebody's more likely to listen. And if there are, show me the incentive, I'll show you the behavior. If it does seem that way, that you're like shouting at a crowded time, you're like, I'm just not going to ask my donors to do it. If they give, fine. But I'm not going to be a pushing force for something like Cyber Monday, right? That is something that has recently been created and invented. There's also a decrease in search there, but overall data for transactions are still pretty high. There is, the advantage of having people go and shop when they're primed to know that there are deals happening. So I still think that there is a rising tide and a strategy where when it is top of mind, it'll be easier to ask. But I think we're going through some turbulence in that transition.
George, I think that is an extremely fair analysis. We shall see what happens next year. Oh gosh, George, can you imagine?
I'm hoping for an update in numbers and we didn't realize that so-and-so donated something. But you're not going to, what you're not going to find is like an extra 10% of participation just hiding around the corner. Like that's tricky. That's tricky.
I think that's true. While I don't want to derail us, but if you are thinking about, okay, what happens next year? An unprecedented amount of the world's population are voting in national elections. I think there are 47 countries with national presidential or parliamentary elections, including the United States, India, Ukraine, Taiwan, 37 EU countries, 18 African countries. It's going to be a big year for political engagement. So we shall see what that does to the fundraising landscape.
Yeah, we should. I mean, we have many, many episodes to spill on that topic of donation trends in election years.